Truman Burbank is an ordinary man who works as an insurance agent and lives an ordinary life. However, he does not know that every move he makes is watched by numerous hidden cameras, and his life is broadcast live around the world. Truman's homeland, the city of Sea Haven on an island near the mainland, is actually a skillfully made scenery, and all the population, hired actors. The executive producer of The Truman Show, Christof, with the help of his team can even change the weather in the city using technologies under a huge dome of the film studio. With age, Truman becomes interested in traveling, so, in a school lesson he says that he dreams of becoming a sailor, like Magellan. Since Truman, obviously, should not leave the island, but at the same time it is impossible to artificially limit him, Christof comes up with a plot twist in which Truman's father allegedly drowns in front of his son. Since then, Truman has a panic fear of water and does not risk not only getting into a pleasure boat, but even walking or driving across the bridge. Fear is fueled by films and special editions of news, built in such a way that they necessarily have a place for a couple of words about the danger of travel and how good it is to be at home and not to leave your hometown. However, soon Christof's plans collapse, and instead of falling in love with his wife assigned to him by the plot of the show, Meryl, Truman falls in love at first sight with a random passer-by Lauren. The sympathy turns out to be mutual, but the girl, knowing that the producers of the show cannot allow their relationship, makes several hints that Truman's world is an illusion. On the same day, Lauren is removed from the project on the first date of the couple in a secret place appointed by Truman. A disheveled father of Lauren appears and begins to accuse her of schizophrenia. But a few minutes before his appearance, the girl manages to tell her real name Sylvia, as well as tell Truman the truth, which he is not inclined to believe. Outside the show, Sylvia begins a campaign in support of Truman's freedom. On the 30th year of showing The Truman Show, its main character begins to think a lot about his life, remember inconsistencies and notice that the world revolves around his person. The finishing touch to the suspicions becomes a Fallen from the Sky Studio spotlight series, which radio soon explains by the fact that a passing plane lost one of the parts. Truman begins to wonder about the evening sky. One morning he hears on the radio an exact description of his actions, as if someone was watching him. The last straw becomes the appearance of Truman's father, dressed as a bum. Truman begins to question his mother, but she shrugs her shoulders and complains that she too often experiences nostalgia for her husband and he haunts her everywhere. Looking through an album with photographs, Truman begins to understand that there are too many inconsistencies up to the fact that in the wedding photo Meryl holds her fingers crossed. Talking to his best friend, Truman realizes that he is being deceived and decides to run away from Sea Haven. First, Truman wants to say goodbye to Meryl, but in the clinic where she supposedly works, he does not find her, but becomes a witness of a ridiculous and hastily staged scene specially for Truman when an unprepared actor-statist has to portray a serious operation for amputation of his leg, and during the operation itself, the patient suddenly tries to jump out of bed. The clinic security takes Truman away, but justice in doubt is further confirmed. Near home, without warning, Meryl Burbank locks her in car with him and promises to take her to Fiji. No arguments from his wife have any effect on him. Then several cars drive out synchronously onto road, creating traffic jam. Truman picturesquely regrets and tells Meryl that they will still return home and that idea with Fiji was not very successful. Meryl rejoices at this, but Truman deceives her again and leaves town, noting that traffic jam disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. The next obstacle to escape becomes bridge across strait. Fear of water does not allow hero to drive over water. Closing his eyes, Truman deceives Meryl into taking wheel and heroes overcome bridge. Then heroes pass alleged forest fire and stop on road blocked in area of nuclear accident where one of liquidators whom he sees for first time calls him by name. Truman finally confirms that surrounding people conspired, runs out of car, but they catch him in forest. Previous attempts to escape also failed. Tickets for plane to Fiji turn out to be sold out for month ahead and bus breaks down. Truman becomes aggressive. Another conversation with wife turns into quarrel after she, in middle of serious conversation, suddenly starts advertising cocoa brand. Not knowing how to answer Truman on his suspicions and frightened by his aggression, Meryl cannot stand it and screams into camera asking for help. Suddenly Truman's best friend Marlon appears. Meryl, meeting him, breaks down and screams that she cannot work like this anymore. Marlon takes Truman away. That evening Truman and Marlon discuss situation and Truman looks calm. After conversation, Truman's father suddenly returns after 22 years of separation. Marlon, however, says phrases transmitted by Christoph by radio and return of father from fog is staged to look as effective as possible. Meanwhile, Meryl is quietly removed from plot, and for Truman, Christoph has prepared new potential lover typologically similar to Lauren Sylvia, whom Truman cannot forget. While Truman sleeps, Christoph gives interview, including answering calls. Sylvia breaks into air and accuses Christoph of lying and hypocrisy, to which Christoph replies that he gave Truman everything that a person can wish for, and only in Dome Truman will be safe. The next day, Truman as if returns to usual way of life. He immerses himself in everyday affairs and even appoints meeting on next day about life insurance. All this, however, turns out to be planned to lull vigilance of those watching him. At night, Truman, with help of linen laid out in form of sleeping body and recording of his own snoring, deceives show team and runs away from home. His searches are occupied by all actors of extras. Christoph suspends show broadcast. Outside world freezes in anticipation of news. Christoph decides to turn on day earlier than usual, realizing that in dark Truman cannot be found. Search parties, however, still cannot find hero on land. This suggests Christoph's idea that water all this time remained outside search area. Soon they find Truman in yacht heading for border of Dome. Christoph begins to give instructions on changing weather, hoping that storm will enhance effect of fear of water and make hero return home. But Truman is adamant. He decides to go to end. To control panel of yacht photo of Sylvia is glued, and real Sylvia cries seeing herself on TV screen. In height of hurricane, Truman shouts into sky that overseers can now only kill him. Christoph orders to increase storm to level dangerous to overturn yacht. This succeeds and Truman begins to drown. At sight of drowning hero, Christoph gives order to end storm. Sun comes out again, yacht turns back, which allows Truman to swim on absolutely calm sea until bowsprit of boat pierces scenery painted in color of sky. Burbank realizes that all his assumptions were correct. For some time he tries to break through wall, then sees passage along dome and staircase leading to door in wall. Truman opens door, but Christoph tries to stop him. He turns on loudspeaker and addresses Truman, offering to talk. All this continues to be broadcast live. Christoph introduces himself as creator of show in which Truman is main star. Director explains hero that in outside world he is waiting for only hypocrisy, lies and duplicity, from which latter will be protected if he stays under safe dome. In response, Truman only picturesquely says goodbye to TV viewers and leaves pavilion. TV viewers rejoice. Sylvia hurries to meet beloved. At end of film, 2 parking guards are shown discussing what else to watch on TV. Did you enjoy the movie? If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more movie summaries. We will do our best to bring you a new summary every day, so stay tuned and don't miss out. Thank you for watching and see you next time.